Hey, buenos dias, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. As always, gracias to everyone for everyone's words, wishes, prayers, and the love and support you guys extend my way. From the corazón, gracias. Also, for those coming in, do please like, share, and subscribe. And please help extend the message out there a little further. Well, to get into the story on hand real fast, it's real early. In a couple hours, I gotta be in to do the last chemotherapy. So we'll see how it goes. But I wanted to put something together. This one is gonna circle around to answer what a lot of people's been asking me lately, right? Which is how were debriefers looked or thought of from this side, right? But this is a little long one, so I won't do it in two part, which it would also help me close the last stage of us being in Beca Ranza and in the pen in Nayarit in Mexico years further, right? But let me take you back to San Quentin, 1997, when my celly was a maid carnal, right? Raul from Corona, which I want to do his profile here next. But for those that have doubt on who he is, you know, he had a real, uh, you could say, from his neighborhood, tat on his chest and a big old Black Panther on his right arm that went with his AK, right? But anyways, when we were in Quilmas, like I mentioned before, I was a knucklehead when it came to doing stuff. This is before I found out who Raul was and I got my ears smacked back, right? And it was because me and him were real cool in the cell. One saying of those that know me always used to say, who don't get along with Chino in the cell got problems with themselves, right? And anyways, again, we were cool right in the cell. And at this time, I thought he was just an older camarada, right, from Riverside. But I had the mentality or dumb thought that I had to put my name up there by putting in work, right? And San Quentin's our backyard reception, so there was a lot of stuff that would happen. For example, cats I would know from the streets that, to some sense, they would say they were from wherever, right? LA, IE, and up north it didn't really matter. They would blend in with norteños and go against us, right? And in Quilmas, once they got there, they were in West Block with us, claiming Sureño, right? So of course, I used to make it an issue, and shower times used to always run up in wherever they were at and whack them, you know. And there was, I would pack up. If I would end up in the hole, I would always make sure I take something for the pilis and camaradas back there, right? And the individual though that would always receive us back there was Sapo from Pacoima, right? He was an older individual, and for those that know him, he has a full sweater, but I don't know if homeboy worked out, but he had a funny body, right? For those that know him will probably know what I'm talking about. But he was cool at this time, right? He was cool. Most of the time, something happened in West Block. It was just, you go back there just a couple days and you will come back, right? And anyways, the last straw was with Mitchie from Market Street, right, San Diego, where he was married into a norteño family, right? Which I didn't know, to be sincere. All I know that they were near the pad and things happened and he jumped in and well, long story short, they stomped me in, right? When it was supposed to be one on one, right, with me with another cat. But anyways, that's not important. You know, when he arrived in Quilmas, I told Porky from Shelltown he had a homeboy from Market Street, and I went up in the cell. Shower time. He was on the fifth tier, and things unfolded. Well, the one thing why it's always wrong to be impulsive like that is because you don't know who's who and who's talking to who, right? Especially when it's vatos that come from towns or cities where there's pilis, right? Or a lot of camaradas are in the mix. Nevertheless, we got pulled out. We went to East Block. No, excuse me, it was Carson section, C section, right? They kept us there for a few days, and I shot some popoka up, and I got yelled at by Sapo. See, up until here, even though I've heard of a lot of names, I didn't really know who they were or their reach or whatever, right? Again, I was wet behind the ears, right? And basically told me that I might have some issues explaining this one. I should have just put tips on Homeboy, right? I shouldn't have put steel in him. Because somehow, some way, he was close to the San Diego car when it came to Pilis, right? Which is Sherm and them. And I came to learn that, Sapo, that's who he was under, right? For some reason, when he was young, he moved out towards SD and he was under Sherm. At this time, silent. You know, he was supporting the SD car, right? That included a bat. But anyways, I told him, I will answer up for it. I had to prove, one more proof that I need that homeboy, lift up something and defend it on Norteño and help stomp me in, right? But anyways, in those cases, it's not gonna matter, right? In reality, if they would have pushed, they would have, I would have been done, you know. And it's when I went back to the cell, it's kind of what brought Raul per se to come out and show me his real paperwork and tell me who he was, cause I had not done nothing wrong, but there could have been a ricochet from it, right? And it just things had to be stopped, You don't have to go into prison, and when something comes up, lift your hand and be like, "I'll do it," right? At all times, cause it's not look good either, right? If you're just a torpedo, again, there's many angles for you to be an all-around camarada. But anyways, when the time I came to be known as Raul's kid, right? Even before I left Quilmas, well, I don't like to talk about this, but we had a little issue, right? Where we thought we were gonna buck up, to be sincere, and we were gonna rush the norteños when it came to Canteen. We were gonna go out there to Canteen next to East Block, and there's a long hallway where it reaches the main line, the norteños, and they would always stand that back there, right, doing their thing. So we had already discussed that, enough was enough. We were gonna get our canteen, put our ID in the bag, tie the bag up, and then we were gonna rush. Which in reality, as now I have a little bit of more clecha, you could say. It was just dumb, right? But anyways, since R didn't wanna put himself out there like that, in the eyes of others, he was a camarada, right? So the decision was made, and we went through it, and we got the bad end of that one, right? I mean, we did what we did, but they were standing back there. They had things to defend themselves, right? You guys get what I'm trying to say. It's when I officially became Mars' kid, right? Because, well, I'll just say this. When I got there, R had an individual on him, like holding him down by the legs, and another fool was going to whack him. And I got and I hit him, and within this hit, I got hit in the arm, but at least I was able to, allow Homeboy to get back up for us to keep getting stomped on, right? Was it worth it? Nah, not at all, right? So, anyways, they took us, to the hole. We were there for a little bit, then we went back out. The Hudas, they basically knew that B and R got along pretty good. They put us in 181, I believe, and then from there I started picking up real clecha. One of these individuals that R gave me clecha was from Sapo, right, from Pacoima. He told me to be careful with that individual, that he was giving too much power, right, by other members. And when R was up there, he was known for instigating and starting things under the name of Pilis, and he would not mention it to Pilis. So that, to answer someone's question, yeah, there is camaradas that are gonna abuse that sense of power. You know, they can't handle it, and they basically throw away camaradas, right? For example, oh, this fool has to go. They send you or another camarada, and then all of a sudden it's a wrong call, and he don't know he didn't make that call, right? It was on you. You jumped the gun, and then it's really on you, right? Or riots. He had caused a riot in high desert with the hermanos over BS, right? Supposedly an hermano had sat on some money from from monks or silent, right? And were to rush. Well, Camaradas were to rush in and collect it, right, with blood. And then it came back that it was BS, Silent got his money. And at the end of the day, nobody got taken out from the program, but a lot did get Southsided, right? Regulated for their actions by not verifying an action that's going to bring negativity to the cars on the yard, right? The objective is always to maintain a yard, to have a yard functioning, making feria. You know, long story short, within time, I made my way up to Pelican Bay, and unfortunately, there was a lot of camaradas, right, that were walking away. You gotta give it to them Hudas up in the bay, right? The squad. They were real good in getting on people's ears. From a letter, from, you know, they were recording. You went out to the concrete yard and you tried to have a conversation. They will record, right? They will go as far as to show writings if your name was in it and make up a story to you to bring that paranoia to you, right? For you to tell. At the time, there weren't too many SNY yards, right? You heard of peseta yards, but not full blown SNYs as you see now, right? And but them TSU or them type of programs, ever since I was in Corcoran, there was a lot of vatos going through them, right? Corcoran was 3, right? And then you had it up there in Pelican Bay too. And one day this individual Sapo, more so after Sherm left, right? He don't know if see Sherm was one of them pride individuals. Sapo made a call, said Sherm was backing it up. When they tried to question Sapo, Sherm took it as a attack to his pride, to his name, and it would say you're questioning us, and it was left alone. Sapo couldn't do that no more once Sherm took off because Silent was a little bit more cautious, right, with the doings of Vatos using his name. But anyways, this dude would eventually, you know, just one day, don't know if he dropped a kite at night to the officer. Next day, supposedly medical. He went out, never came back, right? Shortly after, the Judas are real good at letting you know that he was over there in that program, right? And I said it once, I'll say it again. When it comes to target, debriefers are number one. And I'm not gonna call them out their names. I like rat, whatever, right? There is those individuals that rat, that testify, but see, they do it on a case, and of course they're on the lista, right? And then there is those individuals that debrief. They do 1, 2 years of that stupid program, and they have to give up things. The squad ain't gonna give them a permit for telling on themselves, so they do a lot more damage. They might not go to court testify, right? But they give up communication lines. even if there's plots on yards, you know, basically give up things that will open cases that would eventually damage a pili and other camaradas. The most famous saying from someone that debrief is, I never told on nobody. I just told on myself. But you tell me, does that make sense? You don't think squat's gonna verify everything, and you don't think squat's gonna want more to clear you? But anyways, again, I'm saying this because this individual, he went through the program. He damaged. He did a lot of damage when it came to angles from, well, a couple other Pilis, but more so the San Diego faction of Pilis, right? And camaradas. To the point that there was a lot of moves, right? A lot of angles closed. Of course, not as much as that full boxer did, but nevertheless, it was being reorganized and he shut it down. And, it was unreachable. All we knew, Homeboy wasn't a lifer. So we knew he would eventually hit the streets, right? And that would be the only goal with him. Because for some reason, a light bulb turns on with them once they go to that side, right? They start talking too much. The fear factor hits them 1,000 and everything, right? They see skeletons coming after them everywhere. And all that manhood, campolero, goes out the window, right? But anyways, we kept pushing on, and when time his day came, they looked for him. He wasn't where he was at in SD, where he had family, right? He wasn't in the city. That's a lie. Them cats that know they have that hanging over their head, they'll always say, "Oh, I'm in my city. Show me," you know. But anyways, the world is small, as you guys will see. Within time, when we were in Becarranza, two situations opened up that was leading to a big move for us to take, right? Which was, in reality, as sacrificing ourselves for our pride. As you guys were hearing, well, I will conclude that and give a closing to this one too. But I'll leave this with the message of, you know, my respects whoever decides to turn their life around and go that way. More power to you. Whatever stank someone takes, that's great. But everyone be wise. Because there is those that, for whatever reason, to get out, they got politicked on. They felt it was their ticket soon. Whatever to take that action. But be wise. Because there is a lot of people with grudges that come out and they start painting a pictures of themselves like, yo soy el más chingón. And it make you try to believe that everything is okay with them, right? Which in reality it is. Do your thing and keep pushing. But again, my respects. Everybody's entitled to do whatever with their, we'll just say life, right? And the reality is, some people are just playing the fun. They ain't made for the program. You know, at one time, I was a low lifer, validated when there was no sight to getting out the shoe. And sincerely say, it never crossed my mind, even if I would have went south and getting whacked, to go through that type of program. And I'm not saying because I'm saying I'm built like that. I'm just saying, I went in as a lifer, pushing, 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 pushing. It was never a problem. Then all of a sudden, I'm going to use the excuse I did it so I went home. To me, that's, well, we'll just leave it on there. Just be wise. That's why I always say be smart. Analyze everyone. And I'm saying this including myself. Don't trust nobody. You know, especially right now, the pinta is full of that. But with this said, I will continue and conclude the story on Sapo and how in Mexico debriefing was look how it was look different from being inside. Inside they were on top of the list, period. You know, maybe it's true, there's a lot of them that went in and just spoke about themselves. Who knows? It was them and squad. But common sense is you would see when someone went to that program how all of a sudden they start catching avenues. Homies start getting investigated. But again, this is my story right here. I'll let them tell theirs. So, wish me luck today, everyone. God bless everyone. I hope you guys have an excellent day. Stay true to yourself and loyal to loved ones.